Assalamualaikum viewers, welcome to my channel NTS Guru. Today's topic is types of events. This is the lecture third of series of basics of probability. As we know, probability of any event is number of favorable outcomes divided by total number of outcomes. So in order to know about the favorable outcomes, we must know about the types of events. So there are different types of events. First one is sure event. Sure event is that event which is bound to happen. Which is bound to happen means tossing, when we toss two coins. Tossing of two coins, sample space will be head head, head tail, tail head and tail tail. When we toss a coin, when we toss two coins, the sample space will be head head, head tail, tail head and tail tail. These are the four outcomes. If the event is, I am defining event is either head or tail is obtained. When two dice are thrown together, when two coins, tossing two coins, the either head or tail is obtained. In the all four outcomes, in all the cases, head and tail is obtained. So in this event outcomes, or in the word favorable outcomes, will be 4. So another event is throwing a dice. Number obtained less than 6. If the dice is thrown, so sample space will be, in this case, throwing dice, number obtained less than 6. All the numbers which are obtained when dice is thrown are less than 6. So number of favorable outcomes are 6. So the case in which number of favorable outcomes are equal to total number of outcomes, then that event is called as sure event. So probability of sure event is 1. So sure event will have probability equal to 1. Those events whose favorable outcomes are equal to total number of outcomes, their probability will always be 1, and that event is called as sure event. Next is impossible events. Suppose we consider same sample space. Throwing a dice, number of favorable outcomes are 6, and the event is number of outcomes greater than 6. So in this case, there is no outcome which is greater than 6. So answer is 0. So probability of this event is 0. So probability of impossible event will always be 0. This is second property of probability. Complementary event. For complementary event, we will consider the same sample space, tossing of two coins. So if event is, if you have asked to find probability of getting 2 heads. So what is the probability in this case? 1. Total are 4. So probability of this event is 1 by 4. Probability of getting 2 heads. So if you have to find probability of not getting 2 heads, what are the favorable outcomes in 3 cases in which probabilities we are not getting 2 heads? So 3 by 4 is the probability of not getting 2 heads. So we can write this as probability of event plus probability of not of event will be always 1. So what is the probability of event getting 2 heads is 1 by 4. What is the probability of not getting an event is 3 by 4. If we add 1 by 4 and 3 by 4, answer will be 4 by 4, which is equal to 1. So this is another property of probability. Probability of event plus probability of not of event will always be 1. In other words, we can write it as probability of not of event is 1 minus probability of event. If we find probability of event, we can directly find not of event by subtracting 1 minus probability of event. So this is another property of probability of event. So all the other events which are not sure and not impossible, we discuss in this sure and impossible event. All of the other events which are not sure and not possible, their probability will always lies between, it will always be greater than 0 and less than and equal to 1. This is the another property of probability. So in this lecture we discuss some of the basic properties which must be remembered, which must be memorized whenever we solve probabilities questions. Probability of a sure event will always be 1 and probability of impossible event will always be 0, and probability of any event and probability of its not of event will always be equal to 1, or in other words, probability of not of event will always be equal to 1 minus probability of event, and all the other events probabilities whose which are not impossible or which are not sure will always their probability lies between 0 and 1. So these are the basic properties or the basic probabilities and the related probabilities related to event.